closing in on our favorite person, Hegseth. So, first, let's start with the incident. Most people have already heard about the strike on a small vessel in the Caribbean carrying 11 people. You've probably seen the footage. U.S. military operation intercepting what the administration described as a drug running boat. But then the second strike, that's the issue. So, according to reporting and ongoing investigations, 2 survivors were visibly struggling on the debris, trying to stay alive when a second strike was ordered. That's what triggered the Pentagon review. And what's more, the people on the boat were reportedly not enemy combatants, they were criminal suspects. And what this means is that the U.S. is obligated to detain them, not execute them. Courts decide sentences, not Hellfire missiles. I think you can back me up on that one. But that's only the first investigation. While all of this is unfolding, another scandal resurfaced, and that is the great Signal group chat leak. Pentagon Inspector General report, a real one, not speculation, concluded that Secretary Hegseth shared secret military information in a group chat back in March. Information that, according to sources familiar with the report, could have put U.S. troops at risk. And we are expecting a redacted public version soon. This wasn't some elite national security discussion. Of course, if you recall, this was a very messy group chat that accidentally included a journalist. And what was his response and his allies' response was just jokes, which this is the level of seriousness that we're dealing with. And now the deflections have begun. Hegseth recently praised Admiral Mitch Bradley, but the subtext of the message was hard to miss. He frames Bradley as the one making the operational discussions on that Caribbean strike. But here's the problem. The U.S. military law is very crystal clear. You do not obey illegal orders. The Uniform Code of Military Justice says it, military courts reinforce it, every officer learns it, and yet, according to the reporting, the admiral who initially raised concerns about those strikes was dismissed personally by Hegseth, replaced with someone who probably won't push back. That's not the chain of command. That is a chain of scapegoats. But here's the wider problem. Even with all the political noise, public opinion still matters in America. Oversight still exists, and Pentagon watchdogs, some of the last independent institutions that we have, aren't laughing these issues off.
Sorry,
Their findings. Oh, go.
Real quick. Does oversight still exist? That's all.
Okay. So obviously their findings matter. And I think this will absolutely hit the 2026 midterms. Because when you prioritize loyalty over competence, when you stack the government with influencers, TV personalities, instead of professionals, this is the result. We get a circus, and Pete Hegseth, he's becoming one of the main clowns of the act. And that's all that we got. Back to Alex with the weather.
It's raining tomahawks!
God. So, I mean, you're military. You were military. This is like just straight up a war crime, right? Like this is...
Yeah, so the term that everybody needs to learn is what's called hors de combat, right? And it's defined in every war crime trial. It's this, right? And the term hors de combat means this. You can't fight anymore, okay? So let's put this in perspective. What everybody's talking about is not the initial strike on the drug boat. Let's put that aside for a minute. Let's pretend for a second that the initial strike is legal, right? The issue here is not the first strike. It's this. Oh, look, the smoke cleared. There's two dudes floating and holding on to jetsam. Okay? Like busted pieces of boat floating in the water. Okay? They're what's called hors de combat. They can't fight anymore. They're out of the fight. When you shoot the second missile at them, you committed a war crime. Okay? That's it. It's that simple. Now, we have a problem. We have a series of problems. Number one, oversight. It looks like Congress may be taking back some of their oversight, but I'll believe it when I see it because Mike Johnson's a tool. Put that aside. Also, the Democrats are screwing this up. Put that aside. Here's the issue, and somebody put the oath of enlistment, but I don't want you to focus on the oath of enlistment because they're not enlisted people who are making these decisions. And officers take a different oath, right? Enlisted men promise to obey the orders of the President of the United States and the order of the officers. An officer does not. They swear to defend the Constitution of the United States. Full stop. That is their oath. I just put it in the chat. Okay? I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States. I will bear truth, faith, and allegiance to the same. And I'm not doing it for bad reasons. Right? That's their thing. Their oath actually says nothing about obeying orders at all. It says nothing. It says they'll defend the Constitution. The issue with not following illegal orders is this, right? And somebody is rightly pointing out in the YouTube chat that laws of war is different for combat on land versus combat at sea. And again, this is why we talk about hors de combat, because this has actually been dealt with many times with people who were floating after ships were sunk. When they're floating in the water after the ship is sunk, they're not combatants anymore. They can't fight. Right? We didn't want Japanese Zeros strafing Americans who were laying in the water after a ship got sunk. That's a war crime. Moving on. The issue with not following illegal orders is this. It's the structure in which it's done. Okay? Jay, you're a person. I'm Secretary Dipshit Hegseth. Right? Hey, Jay, go commit this war crime.
Aha. You have unleashed my trap card as a trans person. And if you're a military person, I am not a person to you. I don't exist.
Pretend.
Aha.
We're playing pretend.
Damn.
You're a general. I say, General, go do this war crime.
No.
Cool. You're relieved of command, and I arrest you. Now you're in the brig.
Oh, shit.
Okay? Now, did you refuse the illegal order? Yes, you did. And I arrested you for refusing an order. Now, what's going to happen is you're going to go to court, and you're going to be prosecuted for refusing an order. Your defense to that prosecution is it was illegal, right? But that doesn't change the fact that I arrested you. It doesn't change the fact that I am now holding you in some sort of restriction while you fight criminal charges for refusing an order, right? It's not as simple as I refuse the illegal order and somebody goes, oh, yeah, you're probably right. No, that's not how this works. That's the thing that, again, all this news coverage, all this bullshit fucking misses. They miss the point. Hey, Admiral, go do this thing. And it was the Admiral of Southcom who said, and again, whether Hegseth removed him or whether Hegseth said comply or resign and he resigned is subject to some debate. I wasn't in the room, but officially he resigned. The Admiral of Southcom said, and he resigned. He said, I'm not going to do it. And he resigned and he walked away. Okay? His choice. And then, yeah, they put in an Admiral who'd do what he was told. Right?
So...
But again, if you refuse the illegal order, you're still going to fucking jail for a little bit. It may only be a little bit, but you're still in trouble.
Okay, if I can ask like the dungeon master some questions here. While I'm in jail, like what do I have with me?
I don't know, a Bible?
All right, can I roll a d20 to try to pick the lock?
No. That's
This would be
that's the
brutal.
problem with the illegal order concept, right? If you refuse it in the moment, especially if you refuse it in the moment, right? You're going to jail. And they're just going to relieve you of your space and put somebody out there who's going to do what they tell them to do. And they'll just keep going down until they find somebody, right? The issue here is the only way this works is if there is a equivalent or roughly equivalent officer who can look at that admiral or at Pete Hegseth or whoever and go, you can't tell them to do that. That's the only other way this works properly, right? This captain over here says, hey, go do that illegal thing. And that captain over there goes, whoa, 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 whoa. Don't listen to him. That was illegal, right? Which in these environments doesn't exist. You know what I mean? Somebody in the YouTube chat says, when you're in jail, you get a rock or something. A poorly written letter from an elementary school kid in the Midwest, and a glow belt.
Okay.
That is your court-martial inventory. Yeah, you refuse an order, you're still being court-martialed. Like, that's probably still going to happen. Which sucks. Right? The reason it has generally worked, and it hasn't always worked, My Lai Massacre, right? Fallujah Massacre, or was it Ramadi or Fallujah? The Marines who massacred those people. It works most of the time because there's a social contract almost. There's a thing that says, look, we know what is wrong, right? Killing innocent people is wrong. So we're not going to do that. Right? What are the rules of an XO relieving a CO? I'll be honest, I don't know. I don't know what those rules are. I was not a commissioned officer. I was a non-commissioned officer. So I don't know. I don't know what the... I don't know if there's a situation where an XO can do that. And again, it may vary service to service. And it may vary, again, there may be a difference between land war and sea war, right? Because on a boat, a captain... There's somebody in the chat who could probably answer it. I know they're in the chat right now. They've been talking. I don't know what happens on a boat where a captain is the god king of the emperor, right? The god king emperor of that boat. Who can relieve that captain of command in the moment if they think they're doing something illegal? I don't know the rules. I just don't know. Yeah, I'm not familiar with those circumstances. Let's move on to this. Coming back to oversight and stuff like that. Jay, do you think Hegseth's going to be in his job much longer, or do you think that Trump's going to keep defending him?
Look, I think Trump is taking on water. If Trump is like a really poorly built ship, like I think he is taking on water. I think Hegseth is like adding to this issue. It's like Sea of Thieves. If you've ever played Sea of Thieves, right, and you start taking on water, and then someone sets the boat on fire, and now you're trying to like bail out water and put the fire out. I don't know if anyone's getting this reference, honestly, on this in this stream, but I to me it would make sense to like cut him, be like, whoa, hey, MAGA's not happy with that. You can't just do war crimes, dude.
No, see, let's be clear. Most of the reaction I've seen from MAGA has been happy. MAGA's like,
what?
Fuck it, do war crimes. MAGA is all about doing the war crimes. there's a section of the conservative movement that's going, okay, we've crossed the Rubicon, we've crossed the line, and obviously the left side of the political spectrum is like, what the fuck are we doing here? Most of the stuff I've seen from MAGA has been, yay, war crimes.
I do want to say that we did get an answer in chat about the Navy thing. So it's playground rules.
Exo's dad has to fight the CO's dad. There you go.
There you go. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I guess maybe not. You know, nothing makes sense anymore. Maybe this helps him in some weird way. Maybe he's like, oh, look, Hegseth is a hero. I don't know. He's on my team. We just live in really weird times.
Have you ever seen the movie Wag the Dog?
No.
Okay. You need to watch Wag the Dog. Everybody needs to watch Wag the Dog. Okay?
Wag Dog.
Okay. It's Dustin Hoffman and Robert De Niro. So we're obviously starting out strong, right? But in order to distract voters from a presidential sex scandal, they start a fake war. Right? They literally start a fake war in this movie to distract the world from the fact that the president is doing goofy crap. Right? They create a theme song for the war. They do all kinds of stuff. And literally, it's not even a real war. They manufacture like war footage, everything, right? Like everybody needs to watch Wag the Dog and then realize what's going on. And somebody else brought up the chat. It's the Epstein thing. Yeah, a lot of this is the Epstein thing. A lot of this is them trying to find anything that's not going to piss everybody off. The funny thing is there was a lot of MAGA who was like, this is the anti-war president, right? Where I do think MAGA turns on him, Jay, is if he puts boots on the ground. And I think Trump knows that. This is the problem they're having because you got guys in the government like Rubio who desperately want to invade Venezuela, who desperately want regime change in Venezuela. It's been a project of theirs for a long time. Thank you, fucking South Florida. Okay? I swear to God, Florida... We'll come back to Florida in a minute. I think that Trump knows that if he puts U.S. troops on the ground in Venezuela, everybody's going to be pissed. Pissed. Right?
Yeah.
So, yeah. Yeah, this whole thing is a Wag the Dog situation. It's all a distraction. So, I hope Hegseth is removed. Somebody's filing articles of impeachment against him tomorrow because it's performative bullshit. And then all you're going to do is rally them against you. When you do this performative crap, it doesn't work. Stop it, Democrats. Fuck's sake, Jeffries. Get control of your goddamn conference. Anyway. Also, Hegseth's an asshole.